Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the WCS Coaches Preview Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Qualls, and with me today is Mary Beth White and Tony Hill, head coaches of the Centennial Lady Cougars and Independence Lady Eagles for this week's matchup. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank
Well, thanks.
My positive peeps are here today. Happy to see both of you guys. Now, let's talk a little bit about the WCS Sports Conference District basketball going on right now. Coach Hill, let's start with you. You've won 4 of the last 6 games right now. Centennial sitting at a record of 15-4, which is a school record, most wins in a year. You've pretty much, you're 3 games away from doubling up what you've done the 2 previous years at 9 wins apiece. Give us a little insight. What is different with the Centennial Lady Cougars?
Well, I think one of the big differences is we're playing upperclassmen against everybody else's upperclassmen. In the first couple of years I was there, we were playing a lot of freshmen and sophomores against everybody else's juniors and seniors, and it was tougher to compete. But now we've got experienced kids. 3 out of my 4 juniors have either started or played very strong minutes in every game since they've been there. I've got a senior that's, I believe, started most of the games that she's been involved in since I've been there. And then, of course, we've got Chantel Fly, who keeps coming along and progressing as a sophomore. And then we've added 2 nice freshman pieces to our program in Malia Robertson and Ashlyn Harden, who have done a really nice job coming off the bench for us. And I think a little bit of maturity and experience now that we didn't have my first 2 years here.
Now, you mentioned some of those underclassmen. If I'm looking at your roster correctly, you only have 1 senior.
That's correct.
So as this progresses, 15 wins, 16, whatever you finish with, that's not enough, because next year we're going to continue on, because you have 8 freshmen, 4 sophomores, 4 juniors that will just continue to learn the system as you have it right now. As you mentioned earlier, Chantel Fly, one of our stars here in the sports conference, as a sophomore, going to be better as she becomes with age. So as you look down the road, it's exciting times for you.
Well, it is, and to look at our roster and understand that 1 senior, and I look at next year at the experienced juniors. Now Chantel's going to be an experienced juniors be seniors, and Chantel will be an experienced junior. And then the other kids coming along. It's a very exciting time. The one thing we've got to work on, we've got to develop some kids and build some depth. That's going to be real key for us and how we progress, not only in wins and losses, but how we progress in tournament play going forward.
As you talk about losses, like I said, you've won 4 of your last 6. However, you have lost back-to-back. Now, Dixon being one of those, and every time that we have everybody on, Dixon always comes up right now. Now, I think that power will shift next year. Lily Carter, a very diamond in the rough, not right. She's a superstar, great player. We all understand that. Now, but even though she's as good as she is and Dixon as good as they are, we talked off the air. 1 through 7, anybody can win any given night. Brentwood's already proven that by beating them. Now, Coach White, earlier this week you played Ravenwood. First time you played. It was a double-digit loss. Was not very happy with the results. I understand. I was at the game. Now, you played them earlier this week. You demanded the best out of your kids. Your kids called, answered the call, and was on top the entire game. And then you're so close.
Right.
Every time you get to the top of the mountain, the ebb and flow of coaching, how that goes. So give us a little update where your girls are right now. You go into this game, you get beat 43-41 with, 2 seconds left?
3.4 seconds. Downey hit 2 free throws with 3.4.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. Okay, you had the ball. You had the ball with 20 seconds to go. We get a call without the ball even in play, which is something you don't see very often.
Right.
Now, I'm not here to talk about the officiating. We're not going to talk about that, but that's hard to overcome. And the biggest thing about it is you want to give your kids an opportunity to win, and they just took it completely out of your hands.
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, there's always things that you can do earlier in the game that doesn't put you in that situation. However, nobody's perfect, and you're going to have these situations. So, Tuesday night, we've got the ball. We're doing everything that we want to do, getting that last shot. It's a tie ball game. We're either going to win it or send it in overtime. And, for them to make the call that they did, it's like, oh, you haven't done that the whole game. What's so different? We didn't do anything different. whatever, and then kind of a questionable call on the defensive end too. So to have 2 calls like that in the last 20 seconds, kind of dagger, but
the old home cooking. As they like to say that.
I don't know if it was home cooking either, but I think the girls played. I was telling you off air, we gave up 18 offensive rebounds against Ravenwood 3 weeks ago, and then 3 weeks today we go back and only give up like 3 or 4, and actually won the battle of the boards. I think we're progressing well. We've struggled to actually score more points than the other team most of the season, but we've been in most ball games, and we keep getting closer and closer and closer. And had ball games, we just got to finish the deal. Let's learn how to close the deal those last few seconds. And as we get into the final run, the last 2-3 weeks, it's a good time to start learning how to do that.
Well, I sound like a broken record. I've had the opportunity as a coach to be on both sides of the coin. We've been above 500 this time of the year, and we've been below 500 this time of the year. 2 different schools of thoughts, 2 different philosophies, because in 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road, the tournament's fixing to start. And it doesn't matter if you're undefeated or if you haven't won a game. If you lose that first round game, you're going home. So what's your philosophy right now? This point in time of the year, Coach, you're getting ready, tournament's coming. Guys are totally different than the girls' side. So give us a little, a perspective of going in. You get so close. Do the girls take that momentum and say, okay, good, we see that we can play with them, or does it set you back some?
I think as a coach, that's my job to make sure that we use it as momentum. Right. And that's what we talked about after the game Tuesday night. In the locker room, obviously, there's some tears, really upset, and there's always things you can't control. And that's what I tried to emphasize. Is the things that we could control, we did very well with. And we have to be happy with that. And I said, let's just take what we learned throughout the whole game, except for those last 3.4 seconds, and use that to push us in tonight's game against Centennial. Because I think we can have another really close game with Centennial tonight if we play that same kind of basketball.
Well, tears is not always a bad thing. That means they still care. That's what you want.
Exactly.
It hurts them. All right, so Coach Hill, this is your first time on the show this year. Give us a little roundup. I'm going to ask you the same question real quick. You have a young team going in. You have lost back-to-back coming in this game. How do we get mentally prepared, 1, for tonight's game, 2, for the tournament?
Well, this game tonight really is very important to us for a couple of different reasons. Number 1, it gets us back to 500 in the district. Number 2, it keeps us positioned for a potential home game in the first round of the tournament. And that's certainly our goal, is to host a first-round district game. And it's one that is very important if we're going to achieve that goal and keep what we feel like is some positive momentum in our program going with this game tonight.
Right. All right, so with that being said, give us a little roundup, give us a player spotlight of your team currently. I know that we actually went through the roster just a little bit ago, but tell us right now your starting 5, your rotation, what they're doing, what their positions are, et cetera.
Well, we'll start at our point guard with Maddie Simmons. Maddie didn't have a turnover the other night against Dixon County, so it was really one of her better floor games. We'll start Chantel Fly, who leads us in scoring at about 15 a contest. We'll start Samantha Salas, who really is probably coming off of one of her better games against Dixon County. She had 8 and shot the ball pretty well, so we'll start with her as well. We kind of start a 3-guard lineup with Hannah Holloway, who's averaging about 6 points a game, and then we'll also add freshman Ashlyn Harden, who's given us about 7 points a game as well, and we'll come off the bench with Malia Robertson and Ella Latham and maybe some other kids as well. But that's who we'll start with. That's what our rotation looks like at this point, and we're going to have to play well to win.
Okay, so going into tonight defensively, I know we're not giving anything away here. By this point in time, we know what everybody does and what their strong suits are. Are you going to predominantly play or try to start in a zone, or would you like to play man, or would you like to play up tempo, or are you going to try to play controlled? Give us a little insight of what thought process going in against the Lady Eagles tonight are.
Well,
in fairness, I will ask her the same question.
Sure. I mean, we feel like we're the best when we're getting up and down. So right. we want to get up and down and use our athleticism and try to get it out and go. Defensively, obviously, we have to contain their penetration. They've do a really nice job of attacking the rim and gave us some problems from that perspective last time out. So we'll certainly focus on the transition game, both from a defensive and offensive perspective, but also really work at trying to keep them out of the lane, and that'll be our focus.
Coach White, give us a little roundup right now. What's going on with your team, your rotation? Who's playing well for you?
Well, Tuesday night we all played well, so but we're starting to get a little bit more consistency. We'll start 2 seniors with Croft and Wiggins, and we'll start junior and Hicks, Alan Hicks, and 2 juniors, and Casey Sullivan, and then we'll start sophomore Caitlin Hearn. And we run like more kind of motion sets, not really post inside-outside perimeter players.
Now I'm going to brag on you. I'm going to brag on your team. Even that 3 weeks ago, we kept talking about the Ravenwood matchup where the game. I bragged on your team that day. I think your spacing, your passing, your cutting, your timing on that spread offense, on your motion offense is a strong point for you guys.
All right, we're just we struggled throughout the year just putting the ball in the hole. I mean, you got to make shots. We get good shots. We get the shots we want. We just don't hit them. So we got to knock down a few more shots. But we'll bring 2 or 3 folks off the bench, Lynch, and then a couple freshmen, Haylett and McAdams. But I think, against Centennial, you got to stop the transition game. Mm-hmm. Coach Hill said something about their athleticism, and probably right up there with Dixon County, they're the most athletic team in our district. And so we really have to figure out some way to contain that speed.
Now, you mentioned Kira Downing, extremely fast, very good, talented sophomore guard for Ravenwood. Chantel Fly can cover some ground like no other. I mean, she can flat in one dribble. She's. I'm sure y'all run these drills. I mean, she could probably get from baseline to half court in 2 dribbles or less, probably.
She goes from the top of the key to the bucket in 1.
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Arms are like 10 feet long.
So, and that brings a different perspective too, because she's a very good on-the-ball defender.
Oh yeah.
We talked a little bit the other day about off the ball and being young and the athleticism making up for possibly being out of position, but on the ball, she's one of the best.
She really is, and she's got very good anticipatory skills.
Yes.
I mean, she really reads people's eyes and anticipates the next play, and that's really her strength.
So that means we can backdoor them? Is that what that means? Possibly setting this up? Let's play a little chess match here.
I'll tell you. Well, here's what we're going to expect is this funky zone that he plays. And Chantel's going to be at the top, and she's going to try to force us to make a not-so-smart pass. And then with those long, go-go gadget arms, she's going to somehow pick it out of nowhere and she'll lay up. So I think that was the difference in the ball game earlier was, just 2 or 3 ill-advised passes, or people call them lazy passes, weak passes, whatever, and her picking them and going and scoring layups off of them.
There's nothing better than you've been in practice and you're actually working on some back doors. You get in the game and do it, and then you throw it, a perfect little bounce pass to the back door that never happened. It goes about two bounces into the crowd.
Right.
Like, okay. But how many seniors are you playing right now?
2.
2. So you've got 2. You've got 1, a combined 3. So we can see on the horizon this shifting from Dixon being a power to one of our guys being at the top. Ravenwood obviously being there too. They're somewhat young with Downing, So I mean, this thing. I guess my question should be, how hard is it to win a district game right now?
Well, I mean,
it's coveted, right?
We've started the second half of the season now, and if you look, we've got 5 games left. If we just take 2 or 3 of them, it could cause a 3 or even 4 game, depending on who beats who, logjam.
Exactly.
Or it could all stay the same. I mean, it's basketball and they're high school kids. And
because you mentioned earlier, you're sitting here with a school record right now, 15 wins, but your concern, your philosophy right now is we got to get above 500 in this district schedule because the home games mean so much to survive and advance. So
it does, and in my first 2 years, we've played at Franklin and at Ravenwood in the first round of the tournament, and one thing without any question that I've ascertained from that is simply the home court advantage in the tournament is huge, and if we can get in the top half of the district and get a home game, I think that would be huge for our young kids. And we want to keep the momentum in our program going, okay? And I'd like to see down the road a little bit too. I'd like to get my kids some region experience this year because guess what? We host the district and the region at our place next year. So, I'm having a little foresight in terms of getting my kids some experience in tournament play, get as deep as we can in tournament play, in hopes of making some strides next year as well.
Well, right now, your two buildings, arguably, culture-wise, are going really, really well. I mean, athletically speaking, from football down to basketball right now. Speaking of wrestling, I know this has nothing to do with y'all. Both your teams made it into the region tournament while everybody else is going home. Basketball-wise right now, so keep up the good work. Things are going to be bright on the horizon. Tournament, anything can happen. Sure. Tonight's going to be a fun game. I look forward to seeing it. Thank y'all so much for being here. When we come back, we'll meet with the boys' side of tonight's matchup. Stay with us. Hello and welcome back to this week's Coach's Preview Show. I am now joined by head coach of the Independence Eagles, undefeated in the state of Tennessee, 19-1, Greg Glass. Coach Glass, let's talk a little bit about tonight's matchup between Centennial, the Cougars. Coach Froden couldn't make it, so let's get in depth. Let's talk about it because he won't see this until after the game. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about your last two games. Very interesting how they have transpired. You were at Summit for the border battle. Great atmosphere.
Yes.
One of the best atmospheres I've seen since I've been here. Everybody talks about Battle of the Woods. I'm not so sure that atmosphere was not as hostile. You going to Summit, 2,000 plus people there, fire marshaled out. They come in. They had a pretty good game plan. Coach Ladd thinking I'm going to take a minute to a minute and a half per possession to try to shorten the game because you're high scoring, you're fast paced, trying to throw you a little bit off your game. Sure. And didn't quite, it kept the game close, but it wasn't the outcome he was looking for. You end up winning the game. Help me with the score. You end up winning the game.
I believe it was 48-40.
48-40, that's correct. Then you played this week. You go to Ravenwood, and after thralling Ravenwood 3 weeks ago by 30 plus, Ravenwood comes out and says, all right, we're going to do the same thing. They go four-corner stall ball. You win 29-22. What in the world happened?
Well, I was home in bed at a pretty good time that night. So, no, it's
the game's definitely short.
It was short. I think they said the game was 1 hour and 7 minutes from tip-off, including half-times and timeouts. So, nice. No, they, Ravenwood came out. It was a sound game plan. We went up 2-0 first possession. They crossed half court and went to the old Dean Smith four corners there. I knew it was coming, but I wasn't expecting it to be the entire game. So. But, good thing is our guys, we kept our composure. It just goes back to being a battle-tested team, a veteran team, and they held their composure. The game was close back and forth, but we never wavered from our defensive philosophies and were able to come out with a win.
Now, let's think about that for a second. We've got tournament in 3 weeks. It's not necessarily, this kind of works in your favor. Let's think about it. Everybody tries to run with us, we win. Everybody tries to now throw the kitchen sink at you and throwing gimmick stuff at you, we win. So it's a good time of the year to get that flavor in, and you haven't lost a game with it. So I mean, it kind of works in your favor. Your kids are being disciplined because a lot of times the coaches and the fans start booing. The fans get upset because they paid money to come see a run up and down game. You stick to your guns. Your kids stick to the guns. They trust the process. You still come out with a win. Now, let's talk about tonight. I have a feeling that Coach Froden is not going to do this. I think that he thinks with KJ LaSure, he's going to say, let's bring it, let's get it out, and let's see what happens.
Yes. Oh, I agree. It's going to be a great atmosphere at the game tonight. It's, we're only a half game ahead of Centennial in our district standing, so this game has huge implications on district seating. We anticipate a big crowd on both sides, and it'll be loud. It gets very loud in there, and so we'll be ready. I'm sure they're going to bring it, and we're going to bring it. Should be an exciting ball game.
This is kind of deja vu. You think about how football laid out basketball. Right now, you are sitting 1 and 2. Same thing had happened in football. Independent sitting 1. Centennial actually sitting 1 in their region, but sitting 1-2 coming the playoff times with you guys. And the culture of things that are happening right now at Independence and Centennial and the WCS Sports Conference are phenomenal. Your school alone right now, the culture is so good, so positive, athletically speaking. Football, #1 Max Preps ranking. You guys sitting right now, best team in the sports conference, one of the best teams in the mid-state. I think currently the polls, you got you #3. We'll see how that shakes out. But you haven't lost in the state of Tennessee. Talk about that right now. What is that doing for not only your school? Talk about what it's done for Centennial. Centennial, goes the furthest, the deepest they've ever been in football. He's now sitting 2 games away from matching the 2 years previous combined totals of wins at 14-5. What is that doing for our conference, and what is it doing for your school?
It's amazing at both schools. I mean, Coach Froden has completely turned that program around, and hats off to him for doing, and his coaching staff for doing a great job with those kids. Same thing for us. I mean, again, we're just kind of still feeding off the football season, and Indy Nation, they come every night, and believe it or not, they come up with some gimmicks that. Sometimes during the course of the game, you look over and you're like, what are they doing? But, you got to stay focused on the game. But, we anticipate it being a packed house Friday, and it's going to be a great basketball game. If you're not doing nothing Friday night, you want to see a great basketball game, you need to come out to Centennial.
We have good basketball games, but this is by far the best game of the night. We have a full slate ahead of us, but this is a game, like you said, is probably the best, most competitive game, specifically speaking on the boys' side. 1 versus 2, anything can happen. This is going to be interesting. Be a good battle test for you guys.
Sure.
So give me a quick scouting report. What's going to happen? What are you going to see? Let's start defensively. What are you going to see offensively from Centennial?
They with LaSure, he's pushing the ball, and they want to get turnovers on defense, get some transition baskets. They got great shooters that can knock down 3-pointers. And even their bigs down low, they're athletic, and so they can hurt you from many different ways, and we have to match that intensity. Not only match it, but we have to exceed it. We have to defend. We were fortunate enough to come away with a good win at home early in January, so they're looking for a little payback. They got the home court advantage coming in, so they want to try to send a statement and say, hey, we can beat this team. So we got to come ready to play.
Well, Coach, you haven't lost in state, and every night you've got a bullseye on you. How do you keep your guys hungry? How do you keep your guys focused? Is this a team that feels, you had your growing pains last year. You were so close last year on a lot of games that you may have lost that changed the complexion of your year. You were so close to getting into that region semi game, to get into the region championship game. That translates at some point in time. These guys get older, they're more mature, but once you start winning like you have done, you're sitting at 19-1. How do you keep your guys hungry and focused?
It's funny you asked that question. One thing that we have expressed to our guys since day one, from spring ball to summer, preseason conditioning, teams are going to come after us this year based on what we got coming back. And the 3 things I tell them, I said, stay hungry, stay humbled, and keep your eye on the prize. And we stress that pretty much every day in practice. Don't get the big head, because teams are defined by the postseason. It doesn't matter what you do in the regular season. It's great that we're being recognized, but at the end of the day, they're going to remember this team for what we do in the postseason.
I mean, if you go 25-1 and get beat in the first round of the district, nobody's going to remember the fact, or you get to the first round of the region and you get upset in the region, it's still not good enough.
Exactly.
And I know that you have a goal of making it to Murfreesboro, not only getting to Murfreesboro, let's, if we're going to get there and spend the time and effort to get there, let's go win this thing.
Right.
And, to keep your guys, and dealing with teenage guys that are doing well, the humble piece of that is probably the hardest.
It is. They hear it in school, in the hallways. They hear it going out to eat. They hear it at home. But for the I will say this: our guys are pretty grounded, and we keep them grounded. We try to keep them grounded as best we can. But with the social media the way it is, I mean, they're getting it 24/7. But at the end of the day, we remind them. I said, no matter what we've accomplished so far, we've yet to win a district championship. We've yet to win a region championship, and we want to hang a banner. There's not a basketball banner in our gym, and we want to hang one so bad.
How about that? Right now, we were talking off the air. We're not exactly certain, and we'll find out what the record amount of wins in a season are. And right now, I mean, I'm not sure how many 20-win seasons there have been in Independence history. Now, looking at your upcoming schedule, obviously tonight's game against Centennial, you've got Brentwood, you've got Franklin, you've got Dixon, you've got Summit left. One more round of the battle, of the border battle, which to me, once we get to that stage, if Summit runs out their schedule, you run their schedule up into that point, that could be the game of the year again, like it was the first go-round, excluding tonight's game. So, you've got a chance to not only do regular season records, but that's not good enough. That message has to be conveyed to your kids that, hey, we want that district championship, we want that banner, then we want our region championship. So let's talk real quick region-wise, not to look too far ahead in the crystal ball, but at some point in time we have to start looking towards that. Cane Ridge is sitting over there looking awfully good right now. Hillsborough, who you've already played once.
Antioch as well.
Antioch as well. Yes. So, I mean, it's not like it's going to be, we're going to walk through anything.
No.
So we've got a lot of work ahead of us.
Definitely. We played Hillsborough second game of the season. We didn't have two of our starters that were still in football. So, they're playing a lot better now. Antioch team has been, they're completely turned around from what they've been doing in years past. And of course, Coach Marlin over at Cane Ridge, I mean, they're playing outstanding basketball. They got two college signees on that team. They're very athletic. We played Hillwood earlier in the season at Lebanon High School. They're athletic, so you can't look too far ahead. But
the numbers game, and the reason you have to look ahead, and you don't like to, is that the kids have to understand the importance of taking care of business in the district tournament.
Exactly.
To get yourself in a good seed to advance. Exactly. You want to get yourself in that one seed coming out of this, so you play the other side's four. That gets you hopefully the best matchup to get that first region win, which and I know is a very difficult win. They're followed by, to me, the hardest win to get outside the state championship game to me is that semifinal game of the regions.
Exactly.
To get into the championship game, to give yourself a little breathing room.
Yes, you win that semifinal game, not only you're in the regional championship, but you are placed in the sectional as well.
Right.
So that's a huge game. But we were so close last year, and our guys want to get back to that point and have that opportunity again.
And I look forward to it. I can't wait till basketball tournament. That's my favorite time of the year. In any sports is getting into that tournament action. We talked about the sectionals, and what's waiting on the other side of that sectionals? You got Station Camp sitting over there that's got 20-plus wins right now. I'm not sure they've got a loss. But, that'll all play itself out. But you want to get your kids in the mindset of making sure we're taking care of business, to not have slip-ups, to progress, survive, and advance.
Exactly.
And then get ourselves to the big glass house in Murfreesboro, and anything can happen then. It's been a great year. I look forward to tonight's game. Tonight's game is going to be fantastic. Athletic contest up and down. If you're in the area, better go to Centennial tonight. Tip-off, 6 o'clock between Independence, number 1 seeded Independence, number 2 seeded Centennial Cougars tonight. Thank you so much, Greg Glass, for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Coaches Preview Show.